you don't have visibility when AW transfers the goods to FBA. You don't know when exactly it's going to check in, where's the product. So that's another thing. And, before we start recording, Josh, we were talking about the options that we were talking about. What could be like really good for the FBA sellers is to start looking into omni-channel sales, like FBM, Shopify, Walmart. Some of the categories, they have really good demand. Some of the categories, they still like trying to pick up, but also like TikTok Shop, that companies I'm talking about.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure ecom business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the Ecom Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Aaron Cordovez, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today, I am speaking with Burak Yolga, the founder and CEO of ForceJet Supply Chain Logistics, and we are going to be talking a lot about how to optimize your supply chain to be more efficient and profitable. This episode is brought to you by Ecom Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure e-commerce companies to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious entrepreneur looking for a partner who can help take your business to the next level, my team and I bring the hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. If you or someone you know is ready to scale or looking for an investment partner, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com and let's turn your dreams into reality. But today, I am super excited to introduce you all to Burak Yolga. Burak has 8 years of experience living in China and sourcing thousands of products. He brings valuable insights into global supply chain and inventory management, e-commerce, and logistics. He has been a speaker on various podcasts and at events such as Alibaba Co-Create. And finally, he hosts ForceJet's YouTube channel, where he shares industry insights and updates. With that introduction, welcome to the show, Burak.
Thank you, Josh, for having me.
I am super excited to have you on the show today because one thing that I feel like I've heard time and time again this year is people being eaten alive by all of the fees that have now been baked into their supply chain that they didn't have originally. We've seen inflation take a hit, which has increased the cost of goods for some sellers. We're seeing a U.S. marketplace where, I think the U.S. consumer is more apprehensive to purchase the more expensive products. They're trying to save costs. Burak, I'm curious to hear from your perspective. You have a lot of meetings with your customers, other Amazon sellers. What are you hearing?
Josh, I think there are 2 sides that we can look at this story. When you look at the numbers of Amazon that they're going to public, their stock rate, they're doing great. They're like every Prime Day, they're coming up with like better and better numbers. But let's look at the story from the seller side, right? I mean, we all know that Amazon does not love their sellers as much as they love their customers, unfortunately. And then most of the sellers got hit really bad with all these additional fees, like new rules, maybe new measurements about their account health, inventory scores. So you can't ship as much as to Amazon FBA. Even if you do, you got hit by almost 40% to 45% of your sales price going to Amazon, include the CPC, like PPC cost. And when you look at all these details, international shipping prices changing, business in China is not that good. A lot of suppliers, they're having problems because there's not enough demand. And now, especially this year, with the newer marketplaces are coming to the play, like Temu, Shein, AliExpress, which there are some rumors that there will be a couple of new Chinese e-commerce platforms will be coming to direct consumer USA and North America. So it's even harder for Amazon FBA sellers, which we work with hundreds of them, which you work with many of them. They're having problems with the visibility, profitability, as well as funding issues. So when we talk to our clients, most of them are complaining about the fees, the challenges, but what are the solutions? So that's something that obviously I would love to focus on today's podcast.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and dive straight in there. I think that the biggest change that happened this year is Amazon introduced the inventory, fees, the placement fees. So now it's more expensive to distribute your inventory into Amazon FBA centers.
Right.
Amazon's been very aggressive in trying to get people to use AWD. Same thing with
AGL.
AGL. So Amazon's trying to steer and kind of give you bargain prices, so to speak, to get at least started with them. And then I think we all know the end play here is in a couple of years, once we get everybody in, then we just jack up everybody's rates. And guess what? They have nowhere else to go anywhere because we have everything. So give me your lay of the land in terms of AWD, AGL, inventory placement fees. What should a smart Amazon FBA seller be thinking about right now?
Especially since we are in the fourth quarter, a lot of people hopefully start seeing increase in the sales, but we all know that also the FBA fees increase. So one of the things we realize is, you're very right. I think that everybody who's in this game like long enough knows that Amazon welcomes you with a great prices, great service, which we all know that the AWD and AGL has a lot of issues, but eventually Amazon wants to do everything in their hand. They want to control the sellers. One of the biggest issue that I don't like actually when the sellers work with AGL is Amazon knows their supplier. I think that's a very big risk. Nobody really talks about it, but that Amazon has like a different brands, over 200 brands that they are doing like under different Amazon's brand names, like such as Amazon Basic. They manufacture cables, pillowcases, like they manufacture everything. And there are some also competition problems on Amazon. Whenever you search a product, their product pops up in the first place. So you can't really blame them. They're spending so much money on their supply chain, investment in the fulfillment centers, all this truck business. So they kind of want to handle everything. So that's like a big confusion also by the sellers. They're like, oh, we're going to save you a lot of money, but what about the customer service? Or what about the transit time? So we have clients that they've switched to AGL partially, and then they still work with us. So one of the experience that they tell us, okay, there's no updates. They don't know when the shipment's going to come to Amazon. Like they don't know that. So you can't really manage your inventory as well as your money when you're going to place a new order, because you never know your product's going to check in. And if it doesn't check in on time, if you run out of inventory, Amazon is not going to take responsibility because they delay to deliver a container like 1 month. Another secondary issue that we hear is their pickup time, because they're busy. Whenever you ask Amazon to go pick up the shipments, the supplier doesn't hear back from Amazon, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, or even if they do, there's no a firm schedule. So that's another issue. So we were talking about this like maybe 3-4 years ago, nobody would have a problem with that because the sales was good. There's no that competition. There's no problem to borrow money because, basically there was like free money in the market. But now the rates are like 12%, 30% when it comes to getting a business loan, maybe low tens, the best scenario. So it's very hard to go get the money with the lower margins. So a lot of companies, they're looking for a solution, like, how we can avoid the delays, how can we avoid just to maybe get more revenue from different marketplaces or different sales channels, which I personally recommend, especially in the fourth quarter, to have at least an FBM offer to avoid some of the Amazon FBA fees, because in 2023, the checking times in October, November, December got way longer than the previous years because of having less employees in the warehouses, less appointments. So basically, Amazon cut a lot of jobs to increase their profit. So we see a major issue with delivery times and checking times. A lot of sellers, if you're an experienced seller, you probably know when your product checked in, it takes almost like 3 to 5 weeks fully receive those products and then deliver to the different fulfillment centers across the country, which we have the connection with the placement fee. Why Amazon did that, one of the main reasons is to reduce their own distribution cost. Someone very smart from Amazon supply chain team was like, oh, why we are paying for the distribution why not sellers pay for that? So that's how they came up with the placement fees, I guess, which affecting a lot of sellers. The reason is, number one, you have to use AGL, but we did a case study in our company. So basically, if we distribute the product to 3 different locations versus Amazon is sending to one fulfillment center, especially AWD, and then distribute themselves, it's almost the same price. So there's some sort of I think, wrong advertisement on there, but it's what it is. We work with Amazon in different aspects. We go to their Accelerate this year again. It's a great event. But long story short, as a seller, companies are looking for solutions, like how they can avoid FBA fees. If they use AWD, one risk that AWD has is whenever you want to send an automatic replenishment, you need to be very careful. I recommend companies not to set up rules for auto replenishment because Amazon is kind of still optimizing that part, where you will be overcharged if your shipment is sent in and then your sales rank suddenly drops. You will have over inventory in the FBA, and then we all know how expensive to have long-term storage in FBA. So it's very important, I think, to people understand their own business, not letting Amazon to send replenishment inventory. Another things for the AWD is they only accept small items right now. They're improving this. They're adding new products. But also another thing is you don't have visibility when AWD transfers the goods to FBA. You don't know when exactly it's going to check in, where's the product. So that's another thing. And, before we start recording, Josh, we were talking about the options that we're talking about. What could be like really good for the FBA sellers is to start looking into omni-channel sales, like FBM, Shopify, Walmart. Some of the categories, they have really good demand. Some of the categories, they still like trying to pick up, but also like TikTok Shop, that companies are talking about. But people can also open a store, like an FBM option for companies like Target or other marketplaces that I believe that brings traffic to your own website or to those third-party companies, and then you reduce your risk because you never know what Amazon is going to change tomorrow. So I think this is the one thing that we hear a lot from the customers talking about: the fees, the Amazon services, but also what they can do next.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Burak, I think you gave us a great lay of the land. I would love to go deeper into each of these topics. So let's dive deeper into AGL. Let's talk about, what are the pros and cons with AGL? You talked about, some of the cons being, sometimes they delay picking it up from your manufacturer. They now know who your manufacturer is, right? But what are some of the advantages? And then, so kind of like, let's weigh all the pros and cons for AGL. And then I would love your recommendation. Like, if it's not AGL, then what are your recommendations? Because I know we've seen freight costs go all over the place this year. I mean, we're back up and down. I mean, it's just so variable right now. And what are your thoughts?
Let's go back a couple of steps actually, Josh. When I lived in China, my first business was I was doing sourcing. Then I started a B2B brand, so I was doing wholesale sales from China to more than 40 countries. And there's one thing that I learned is no one cares my business more than I care, and that's what is going to be the rest of my life. And there are so many people, FBA sellers or companies, the brand owners. They let AGL to handle their business, but then they cannot control the outcome. What I mean with that is AGL is doing so for some companies, it's a great solution. They're maybe oversized. They have a lot of SKUs. They don't want to deal with all these things and they want to deliver everything to one FBA location. Maybe they have a good margin. So AGL is a great option for them because sometimes when the companies work with the freight forwarders from China, they kind of have a good communication. They have like a time difference. So AGL came up to the market with actually a good idea. So when it comes to the advantages, we can talk about these advantages. But one of the disadvantages that you cannot control your own business. You cannot control the delivery times. You cannot control your landing costs. Sometimes we have some clients that they had issues with using the wrong import code, HTS code. So Amazon overcharged them. So one of our customers paid extra $14,000 for a container that they're not supposed to. And because their agent account connected to their seller center account, Amazon withdraws the money immediately. So you can't even open the claim. So there was like out of nowhere. Another issue is like, the delays. We talk about that. It could happen in any marketplace, but I know that another issue is if your shipment goes to an exam, especially in America, we have a way to contact the CBP, Custom Border Protection, to speed up, maybe open a communication, but then you need to wait Amazon representative, which can take between 4 to 6 weeks, which is going to cost you a lot of money if you run out of inventory. So these are something that may be very technical, but these kind of things happen in the business. And if it does happen to you, then you don't have a control, and then eventually you are the one whose money tied up to that inventory that's sitting there, you can't sell. And another thing is getting really popular right now is, like, as I mentioned, selling omni-channel, entering new markets. If you're using Amazon Global Logistics, your only option is that inventory goes and sits in AWD, which Amazon actually came up with this new idea, the drop shipping from Amazon FBA, which it was against almost their rules like a couple of years ago. But Amazon now see that they can still make money with the fulfillment. So, which is an interesting idea. Another news that we heard, Josh, is that Amazon is actually kind of open for China dropshipping model for cheaper items, right? It's kind of, when we see all these kind of things, I feel like Amazon don't want to lose their marketplace, like market share, against other newer, cheaper options. But I think it's also damaging a lot of their sellers' business. That's why a lot of brands or FBA sellers, they're looking for alternatives, like options. So when it comes to AGL, as we summarize it, I think the advantages are like easy shipping. And if you're not in the rush and if you want to save money, AGL is a great option. If you want to have multiple shipping options, like multiple sales channels, where you want to control your landing costs, control your shipments, I think it's better to work with the freight forwarders who base out of the US, not only in China, because then you have the problem of time difference, communication, etc. I think that's my personal opinion, because I've been in the business like more than 15 years. And I think my leverage is I've been in the both sides. Like I've been a service provider as well as I've been a seller. So, I exited my business like 3 years ago, FBA business. I sold it. So, which helps me to put me in others' shoes so that I can understand how they feel, what they feel. So AGL is a good solution, but I feel like disadvantages are more than advantages. And I think kind of giving very openly information about your supplier is a really wrong idea strategically, because you never know if Amazon wants to be your competitor one day, which we have seen that in the past many times.
Yeah. I think that those are really good insights, and I think good takeaways. Are there any service providers you would recommend as freight forwarders that are based here in the US? It sounds like that's where you can have more control. If you have any issues, like you actually have some boots on the ground here. Like,
Right.
Are there any, like, give me 3 of your favorite freight forwarders that you would recommend working with then?
I mean, obviously we are one of them because we are partnered with Amazon, Canada, UK, Alibaba. And then I think Forcegate is doing a good job. That's how we grow organically. The second website, I would say, if you want to get an instant price quote, freightos.com is a really good website. It's a marketplace where you can look at different companies, look at their reviews, if they're specialized on Amazon FBA, and you can play around, because I think right now, Josh, is being successful in e-commerce. I'm not just saying Amazon FBA anymore. I believe that going on the channel is a smart way to do it in 2024, at least 2025, is really to understand your landing cost. So sometimes you need to play around. Maybe you want to ship 15%, 20% by air. The rest is the quickest option by ocean, or slowest. There are different shipping lines. They have different transit times. I talked a lot of times about the carriers versus the freight forwarders. So Freightos is a great website where you can look at the options and then kind of give priority and understand your landing cost for each time. And then it's not really any fancy topic. People don't like to maybe do that kind of calculation, but eventually I think this year is one of the most important topics, the profitability. Can you be sustainable in the business? Can you continue to run your business? in the past, everybody was like really proud of being 7, 8 figure seller. But even I personally know a lot of big sellers that they're 8 figure seller, but they're not profitable. So why is that? So I think the game is changing. Third, I think also another really big company, Flexport, is a really great digital. I think it's important to have all your shipments in front of you, documentation, the communication on a digital platform, where Forescale also has that. It's changing. Like, a lot of AI is going to affect in the forecasting of the inventory, the supply chain, and also profitability. And if you talk about AI when it comes to the supply chain, we are expecting 55 to 60 billion dollar investment in 2024 in the industry when it comes to the AI and digitalization. So I think it's extremely important to like follow the market and look for the options. You can't just expect Amazon to deliver the goods for you. If you do that, I think in some point you're going to run into an issue, and it can be a very expensive issue.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I
Tell
mean,
me.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of stories where people just try or trust one of the service providers, but then they get like really have an expensive experience with them.
Yeah, I think you provide some great recommendations there. So thank you for sharing those and
No
also
problem.
the insights. Now, tell me about your thought process with AWD. What is, do you recommend AWD as a good solution, especially to avoid the inventory placement fees? Who is AWD right for? I think there's kind of like two topics here, right? If you're just only selling on Amazon, AWD, in my opinion, probably makes sense.
Right.
But if you're trying to go omni-channel, that's maybe where things break down a little bit more. So I'm interested to get your thoughts on.
Right.
Let's dive into the weeds of AWD.
So both AGL and AWD is our direct competitor. Like Forescale has multiple warehouses across the country. So I'll try to be like very unbiased about the situation. The idea of AWD actually came up 2, 3 years ago, where when COVID happened, Amazon was the number one place where everybody would go and buy a lot of products. And everybody thought that demand is going to stay there high in the e-commerce. And now we all know that it dropped back to retailers, back to the different market channels. So Amazon came up with all these like additional fulfillment center plans, which they build it, they start operating, and then suddenly demand went down. So that's why they come up with this placement fee. Even, they take the average of 30-day sales, and if you don't keep enough inventory, they're charging you with that, which is sort of crazy. Technically, they're saying that, hey, if you don't keep enough inventory, we are going to charge you for money where you don't actually keep stock. So in international shipping or fulfillment, we call that like allocation fee. Basically, when Amazon thinks that, hey, I trusted you that you're going to sell that many units, but now you're not sending those products. So basically, I did this investment, billions of dollars to create all these fulfillment centers, create this fulfillment supply chain, and now you're putting me down, then I'm going to charge you. If you want to still sell with me, you need to pay this money, or you ship it enough. So that's the idea. A lot of people, they're looking at the results. They don't look at like, why did this really happen? So this is the reason why they came up with the AWD, because FBA, like fulfillment centers capacity, was not enough. So Amazon started building these giant distribution centers, Amazon Warehouse Distribution, AWD, and they came up with these opinions. So they're like, since they can't make sure that there's enough shipments there, they're like, okay, we're going to use that as a long-term storage facility, which makes sense. Again, like if you're selling on the Amazon FBA, if you have like a smaller products, if you're not in the rush, you should use AWD. It's a good idea. But one of the issues is the time frame when you want your products to move from AWD to FBA, which there's no really visibility. The product might be lost or they're damaged, and you're gonna wait a long time. So I think depend on people's business and cash flow. If you're not in a hurry, yes, AWD is a good idea. But again, if you want to control your business, I recommend you to work with independent 3PL, where your cost is going to be same at the end of the day. You'll have a better service. Your shipping time is going to be 1 or 2 days. You're going to have the tracking information, bill of lading. You don't have any of these things, which I think AWD, aware of these things. They're going to fix it over the time. But right now, in the short term, if you want to expand to new marketplaces, I recommend to get your own 3PL. So that's my personal opinion. We work with people who try that. They have good experience with AWD. I'm not saying it's not a good service. Some of the people, they didn't have a good service. It's just like all about luck sometimes. So I think if you want to test it, but don't put all your eggs in the same basket.
Yeah, great insights. So let's now focus on, you talked about, going more omni-channel. What's the ideal setup if you are trying to go omni-channel? Do you recommend, there's Amazon's also trying to do their multi-channel fulfillment more, right? And I think we're also seeing on that aspect, Amazon's not shipping in their original Amazon packaging now, right? Even if you don't select the, hey, I don't want this shipped by an Amazon box, Amazon's still just sending it in a blank box. That's what we've noticed. But it's definitely more expensive. All your eggs are in the Amazon basket. So how do, especially with profitability being so tight this year for sellers, it's really hard to make a bet and say, well, I'm going to take 50% of my inventory, go to Amazon, or 80% goes to Amazon. Then 20% is going to go over to this warehouse. And I'm going to hope that I get orders on Target, Walmart, etc.
TikTok, yeah.
How do you recommend, if they want to go omni-channel, what's the best, supply chain setup to fulfill those orders?
It's really depending on a category. So we have a client that he's selling car seats, and he start building his Shopify website. He starts collecting emails, running advertisements to just a test. We keep his products in our warehouse, and then we fulfill for Amazon FBA. So he asked us, hey, I want to try this for the Prime Day. So I think it's a good idea to maybe wait for a special day to launch this strategy, to put Amazon FBM listing additional to your FBA, put the price a little lower, and then see if there's any demand. Once you do that, you can start actually shipping separate orders from the 3PL. And then the idea is to see how profitable is that, right? When you do that successfully, the next option, in my opinion, to start running Google advertisements and put your product on different places like TikTok, Shopify. They're great softwares that you can connect all your stores on the same marketing platform, as well as same inventory channel platform, which we're working on that. And I think it's just like a really good idea to test. And if you have 40, 50 SKU, try with 3. Probably you, Josh, you have a better strategy or expanding to different marketplaces. But as a supply chain person, what I like to see is if you have orders from different marketplaces. And it kind of starts adding up. You have 2 orders from Target, 1 order from Shopify, no order from TikTok. The next day you have 1 order from TikTok, 1 order from Shopify, maybe no order of Target. And you start testing out. Eventually it adds up, and at the end of the day you have like 10 to 15 different orders from 3-4 different marketplaces, and eventually it's your customer. It's very important. That is very powerful. When you launch a new product, you have the database to ask them to order product, and you already start having a brand owner. And I think there are a lot of strategies where you can try to work with influencers, like you can run your advertisements. Obviously, it's a full-time job. I'm not saying it, just put your product there, sits there. If you don't drive traffic, maybe you need to do SEO optimization in your website, use special hashtags. It's kind of like doable. You can hire a full-time marketing person in maybe cheaper countries like the VAs or South America. If you don't have that much budget, it eventually takes like time to organize these things or work with great agencies like yours. So it's just like, it's all try and see if the product is worth it. You have enough margin. Some of the products are like really cheap. You don't really have much margin to do that. So we have seen like successful cases with our customers to successfully launch the product in different marketplaces and start getting orders, which they tell us like, I wish we tried earlier, So I think it's very important to see your product, what category you have and what marketplace could be a good idea to actually get some products.
Interesting. Do you do any, do you hear people having success going the wholesale route, trying to get into more traditional brick and mortar? And then do you guys help fulfill that from the 3PL standpoint?
It's a great idea and an option, Josh. Like when your brand is in multiple different locations, and if you're a wholesale company that you don't have online presence, either the brick and mortar stores or the traditional wholesalers will approach you, ask you to sell their products online, or opposite. We have seen that one of our big brand went to our customer and asked them, hey, can you sell our product? And they offer much cheaper product compare what they would order from China, but then in a better, most favorable payment terms, which is the gold, because now for regular production time for full container of a product, 40 to 45 days, the shipping times delay, checking times delay. So you're looking at tying up money like 3 to 4 months versus you can buy 2 pallets products. After you sell it, you pay them back 30 days later, so you can make money. Or you can actually, you will be discovered by some wholesalers that they want to sell your product, which is a great idea. And that's how Anchor did their global success. They start selling online. They position themselves really in a good place. Obviously, they had marketing budget, but then they have 70, 80 different distributors in different marketplaces. So you can go open a booth in a trade show, like in Hong Kong, in China, and locally. If you're selling toys, you can go have a booth in a toy fair. You wait. It's an investment. It's kind of like $10,000, $12,000 for a booth, but then there could be some brick and mortar stores can find you, retailers or their wholesalers. So that was my main business from China. And I had no money when I moved there. I was like 23 years old. I didn't know how to prepare a pro forma invoice purchase order. So my friends taught me how to do it. But I was a middleman and I didn't have any money to buy and sell inventory. What I did was I received an order from a customer overseas, 20%. I paid to the factory, got my cut, and then remaining 80% before the shipment, I get paid. I pay the factory. I start making money. So it's still possible to do that in your local market because eventually not everybody really knows how to import product. They don't know how to clear customs. So that's a great way to make, maybe you'll have less margins, but it's a guarantee business. So that's why if you have a good 3PL, you have the products, and someone requests, hey, can you send me a sample? We will ship the sample to the wholesalers, and the wholesalers can actually start ordering products. So imagine you have a 40 high cube container come into a warehouse, and then 20% goes to wholesale, 10% Shopify, and then you eventually have a business that you don't rely on only on one marketplace. Because we even know, with Brandon Young's my good friend, and I see his post a couple of weeks ago that Amazon just closed his listing for fake IP claim, which it can happen. But if you have multiple channels, then that's how you distribute, how you put your eggs in different baskets.
I love that. Now, from your experience in working with a lot of different clients, are you seeing people have success in one particular channel over others as they look to expand? Is it TikTok Shop that you see a lot of people having success with, or is it Shopify? Is it Walmart? Is it Target? What do you think if a seller has limited resources and they want to open up the next?
I talked to also a lot of partners as well as the customers. If you want to do Walmart, it's a great option because it's FBA option. It's Walmart warehouse distribution. So it's a great option to ship out 1 or 2 best-selling FBA SKU to Walmart to test out. Another great option is Amazon Canada. If you're not selling on Amazon Canada, you're missing out big time. We're partnered with Amazon Canada. We can help you to register free company in Canada, do the custom clearance and ship it. We can also introduce you to Amazon Canada if you want to have better inventory requirements. So if you're not selling in UK, Australia, maybe your product is suitable, definitely start looking at the global expansion. It's Amazon makes it a lot more easier. This is number 1. Number 2, Walmart is a good option if you think that there's a demand. But I'm a big fan of honestly having your own website, Josh, because eventually it's your own business. You can take that to many different places. You can make it bigger. You can add more categories. You can ask your supplier to offer you newer products with a better payment term, you can just say, hey, I want to add additional 50 of this products to start launching in my own website, because you can't really launch 50 product on Amazon FBA, can you? We all know that it's not really possible. You need to do giveaways, maybe you need to run very aggressive PPC. You're going to rank the product in 2-3 keywords, and then you're going to go wider, broader. PPC goes very high, versus you have 400 maybe baby basket organizer. You have 400 mothers who bought your product. You can go and try to offer them with 50% discount of another baby product, which if they like your brand, if they like your brand story, they will do it. And if you tell them, hey, look, we're a small business, please order this product, I'll give you 50% off. You can sell break even, or you can say, hey, can you send this to, if you don't need this, can you send this to your friend? You can send them an affiliate link. And these people like this kind of stories. And now we've seen a brand who has done this, like very successful in the baby business. And right now they have plus 300 different products, and they started this only 2 years ago. So it's just like day by day. And I love the story. We were part of this story, and it's just like really, really nice, to have someone you see grow. And it was like a single mother, and then she was just like grow the business to a big business almost.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great inputs, great advice. So as we wrap up, Burak, what are there any aspects that we haven't touched on yet that you feel like the Amazon seller needs to know right now?
Man, I think these are like really the hot topics. I highly recommend to understand the cash flow. Highly recommend you to understand like the profitability, the landing cost on each product, and focus on, instead of maybe launching new products, focus on increasing the profitability of your product and try the new marketplaces with the newer product. I think next 12 to 18 months, we will be talking a lot about this new marketplaces, changes on the e-commerce business and the Amazon FBA. I would love all the brand owners to take over control of their business, not to just let FBA runs it. I know it's a big part of our lives. It's hard to like give up from the FBA business. We will not, none of us, as a company, Forescape will be part of the FBA community. We'll be delivering the products to FBA, AWD. Sometimes we deliver to AWD. We work with the customers. But the idea, I think, is to add more marketplaces, go global, enter maybe drop shipping websites to promote your products, brands, find wholesalers, and create more revenue. I've been in the business a very long time. When I moved to China for the first time, it was a very interesting times where a factory in China sell their product to a wholesale company in China. Then the wholesale company in China, or trade company, sourcing company, would sell the product to wholesaler overseas. The wholesaler will sell it to retailers or small e-commerce company, or e-commerce company would go. So there was like a big tiers of the business doing traditional method. This was like 2012, 2013. Now, 10 years later, the factories, they sell directly on Amazon. Not even that, factories selling products on Temu.com right now, directly to direct consumer. This has a dramatic change in 10 years. 10 years ago, no one would ever guess this would happen. So imagine what can happen 10 years from now on. So we need to adjust to our business to the right ecosystem in the e-commerce and wholesale. And I believe that this is the right way to do it, like not to put all your eggs in the same basket. Like this is what my experience tells me.
Yeah. Awesome. Burak, this has been an awesome episode. Thanks for sharing these insights. I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every episode. So here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. So action item number 1 is you kind of touched on this over and over again, but it's looking to expand to omni-channel. And I love the approach that you took, that it's like, hey, you might open up Target or Walmart and it might be a slow trickle at first, right? It's one sale, but over time, right, you take your best sellers and you launch them on those other platforms and you begin to just test out the waters. We got on Shein and I was surprisingly shocked with the volume that we did on Shein was outpacing what we were doing on Walmart and what we were doing on Etsy, right? And so my recommendation there is like, if you don't test something, you'll never know. But I love the example that you also shared with, I don't think people need to necessarily be scared of Amazon, but I think it's smart to be diversified because
Right.
with Amazon being as big as they are, sometimes you are going to get caught in the crosshairs of a mistake, an honest mistake on Amazon's part. Maybe you're suspended for a couple weeks, even though you're not doing anything wrong. Now, you will get things back, but how are you going to be able to manage the cash flow in the meantime? And if you have these other platforms generating sales, it breathes some additional life into your business.
There's a possibility one day Target might ask you, hey, we have a pilot program. We would like to put your product on our actual physical shelves. So, this has happened to many people. You're selling on Walmart.com. You have a good performance, then Walmart's going to be, hey, we want to put your products to 50 physical stores. That could be a life changer. So these kind of things are happening. Those brands are looking, like those retailers are also looking to compete with Amazon. Those retailers are looking to increase their revenue. They want to bring like a new version, maybe like exciting products to the physical stores. So it could be a life changer. This happens to a couple of our customers actually.
I love that. Love that. So action item number 2 is getting into the details of understanding the true costs that are involved in your supply chain, right? And you mentioned, we talked a lot about AGL and AWD, but ultimately you need to see what works specific to your business. But you need to be able to identify each of the costs. And I think that's the important aspect of it is you've got to measure, what is the cost from AGL? What's my cost and benefit, right? Am I getting things shipped in on time or am I losing sales? Right. And so it might be a cheaper rate to get started, but what if that means you go out of stock for a couple weeks? Is the cost of a lack of sales greater than, a 5 cents, per shipment or unit that you're saving to bring something in? Mm-hmm. And then my third and final action item, you touched on this and we didn't go into too much detail, but understanding your landed cost of goods is so, so important because what if you airship something over, right? 20% of your order gets airshipped, then the rest of it comes over in a boat. You've got to make sure that you take all of that into calculation to understand what was your true cost of goods sold. And I think there's a lot of sellers out there that don't understand their financials very well. And even to be honest with you, as I've done some consulting for some other brands, I'm seeing a lot of the e-commerce accounting firms not calculate landed COGS correctly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That is a massive issue. You think you're more profitable than you actually are. Right. And they're not carrying the inventory balances on the balance sheet properly. It creates a whole host of issues. And then you wake up one day and you have no money in your bank account. And you're like, what do you mean? I've been so profitable.
That's
according to my
what we
accounting.
know with the aggregators in the market space. Unfortunately, they start buying brands and they're like, if someone's offering me this brand, I'll give you a Tesla. And that was like 2 years ago. None of those companies are in the market right now. So don't go crazy with the business. So, I think understanding your landing cost is the real thing you need to do.
Yeah, I love that. Burak, as we wrap things up here, I'm going to ask you my 3 favorite questions that I ask every guest. So number 1, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
Our team grew very fast, last 2-3 years organically. So I used to manage the business. Now I'm trying to understand, to managing our team better. So kind of reading the book called Atomic Habits. I really like it. I'm trying to be more disciplined, more mindful, more empathic to our team. So that's the book that I read a lot recently. That helped me a lot to build every day a better team and surround myself with better people.
Yeah, Atomic Habits is a great book. One of the other recommendations we had previously was a book called Tiny Habits. I haven't yet read into it, but supposedly it's like the first bite into Atomic Habits, because Atomic Habits, there's a lot of good takeaways, almost overwhelmingly so.
I know.
All right, second question here, Burak. What is your favorite AI tool that you've been using that you'd recommend other people?
I'm a little bit on the traditional side on that. Our team is using different things, but I still like my favorite is the ChatGPT, where I get to understand a lot on what's going on in the market and then create the content. I'm trying to focus on creating my content, understanding like the pain points and solve it, and train my team also. So ChatGPT has been like great help for me to understand the market dynamics and where everything is going. So trying to understand and find some solution and better content. So that has been like my favorite actually so far.
Are there any cool ways that you've been using ChatGPT? Any cool prompts or custom GPTs?
Yes, sometimes, and I have I have a really good assistant. She's been also helping me with that. So me personally, I focus a lot on the challenges that we get, like kind of rejection we get from our customers when we talk to them, when we get to see what they're going through, and then kind of using that the solution that I think that can help for the next days, because we focus in the company a lot on the present, the day to day, that what can we add more value to our customers' life and how can we help them every day. And that's something that we're very proud of our customer service, like, to notify them what's going on. I always tell our customers, hey, there could be so many things that are happening outside of our control, but I promise you we will take responsibility and we will notify you if anything happens. You're going to know earlier than anyone else. I think that's very important, what is deserved by our customers. Like that's what I'm using with the ChatGPT to make things better in the company every day.
Love it. Final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why?
I'm a really good friend with multiple people. I really like Kian Golzari. He's my really good friend. He's on the sourcing side of the business. He has sourced a lot of different products. He has great insight when it comes to buying products, save money. And also, I'm really good friend with Tim Jordan. He has been in the market a very long time. I respect him a lot. He has a great person to connect with whenever I have some questions. I ask him. I have a lot of great friends. These are two people just came to my mind right now.
Love them. Those are great recommendations as well. Now, Burak, if people want to learn more, they want to learn more about ForceJet, like tell me more, and where can people follow you?
They can follow our social media channels and LinkedIn. Personally, if anyone has a question, they can send an email to burakyolga@forcejet.com. I will generally reply within 1 or 2 hours. Our YouTube channel, we're trying to add value to the community. I've been in this part of this community almost like 5-6 years, and I really like to hear back from people. Hey, Burak, that recommendation you gave me really saved money. That's what we're trying to do, Josh. Honestly, they're great. They are great content in the market, but I always want to be in the part where everything I talk can be actually applicable to the real life. Like you want to really listen, and then you can apply that to your business. That's what I'm trying to be practical, be to the point. So I believe that that's what I have been doing, and I'm going to try to keep doing that.
Love that. Burak, thanks again for joining us today. This has been an awesome episode.
Josh, thank you so much, man, having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.